Hey guys, it's Sophie. Welcome back to episode 6 of Honey in the Rock. I'm so excited that you've tuned in and are listening, and I really appreciate, and I'm so thankful for that. So today it's a solo, just me, and I'm going to talk about how God has never promised that following Him will be easy. I think often as Christians we quickly assume that once we follow Jesus faithfully, or once we do this more, it'll be easy. Oh, if I do this, life will be good. Oh, if I do this, I'll have more joy. But God never promised that this world and living this life will be easy, and often it's hard. There are some good things in this world, but there's a lot of not good things. And I'm also going to share some things that He did promise, though. So He promised that it won't be easy. He never promised that it'll be easy, but He promised things that He will do. And so I'm going to go over those things, and that'll hopefully encourage you. And I pray that you don't grow weary. But if you're watching this video, you see that I have a messy bun and I have come from practice. It's about 9 o'clock and I've had Bible study tonight with my team and practice in school all day. But this is really important to me, and so I wanted to find time. So the time today is 9 o'clock at night. So I appreciate that you're here. And so just to dive right into it, God did not promise that this world, this life that we're living is going to be easy, but He did promise that He will never leave us. God will never leave you. And so when you're following Him faithfully, He's going to provide. And so sometimes when He's providing, it might not look like how you imagined Him providing in that way, but He has time and time again provided and comforted and showed up. And so many trials that I've gone through in life have made me grow into the person I am now. And the trials that I will go into will continue to shape me and help me grow in my faith in Jesus. And so, honestly, to me, trials produce faithfulness and steadfastness, I think is the right word, in Jesus. And so, when you're following Jesus, it's not going to always be easy. It's not going to be the perfectly mowed grass. You might have to go up and down some hills, but those things will teach you that the Lord is still good and He will always provide. Often I hear some of my friends and I talk about, oh, but how is God still good? How do these bad things still happen? And so that reminder, when bad things are happening, that doesn't mean God isn't good. That doesn't mean God doesn't love you. That doesn't mean God isn't faithful and perfect. But often, this is just reminding us that we need His help. We can't do this life on our own. But God never gave us a roadmap. Never gave us like a how-to manual list of instructions. But He did give us the Bible. And that is all you need. We don't need step 1, a step 2, step 3, because He's given us the Bible. And so, since we don't have a roadmap, sometimes, life can get confusing, but to continue to read the Bible, because that's how Jesus speaks to us, how God speaks to us. And so it's really important to be in the Word. I'm not saying that's easy. Sometimes I struggle with that. I still struggle with it, but intentionally being in the Word is going to be a game changer. But another thing God did promise was His Son's sacrifice for us. A promise that no matter what we face, no matter where we go or how far we wander from His loving arms, we will never be alone. So that just to say, He did promise He would send His Son, and guess what He did? And Jesus died and rose again 3 days later, and Jesus is alive. And so His Son, God's Son's sacrifice, saves us. And so that's the only that is the most important promise to me. He promised that, and He kept that promise, and He is continuing to keep that promise, and we're never alone. It doesn't matter how far away we go from God, we are not alone. We are never too far gone, and so He is always ready with His arms open wide to hold us and love us. And so no matter what, run. Whoa, that was a wonder. No matter what, run back to Jesus. It's so worth it. And we're not alone in that at all, ever. So, the Bible has the values to live by and to encourage us by our walk. And so the Bible is one of the most important things we have. But also God gave us family and friends, people and places of support to love, to turn to in times of hardship. And so that is one of the biggest blessings, is good friends and a family. And sometimes family situations aren't always perfect, but that still can be a blessing from the Lord. Good friends, a church community that loves you and wants the best for you. That's just such a blessing that God has given us to run to in these times of hardship. You know, when our friend passed away, the amount of people that just came and loved us and took care of us was such a blessing. And they reminded us the goodness of God, even though that this road that we're going on isn't easy and it's not perfect. God never left us. And so no matter what you're going through, run to those people who love the Lord and love you. And so they are really there. God has blessed us and put people in our lives to help us. And so accept help. That's something I'm working on, is like, let people help you. Because sometimes that's hard, but God also put these Bible stories, and these Bible stories teach us that sometimes it wasn't perfect. I was reading a verse tonight, and it was about people wandering, the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. I think that's correct. And they didn't make it into the promised land because they didn't follow the Lord. So first of all, it is so important to follow the Lord. Even though it's not always going to be easy, He's going to continue to provide, and He's put in all the steps to provide. And so these Bible stories, these true Bible stories, are really important for us to read so we can learn from past mistakes, but also be encouraged by, like, look at the end of the story. And so to me, that is really encouraging. And here are two things that God did promise. He did promise that we will never fight alone. The trials that we face here on this earth, we're not going to fight alone. He's not going to be like, here's this crappy situation, bye. We're put in these crappy situations because we live in a sinful world. But God has never said, bye, see you later. He is continuing to show up. So he did promise that we will not fight alone. And another thing He promised is that He would never be more than a prayer away. And so when He's not farther than a prayer away, so all that to say is, like, talk to Him. He wants to hear from you. You're not a burden to Him. You're not too much, too imperfect for Him. Talk to Him. Be in prayer. He wants to hear from you. He truly wants to hear from you, and hear from Him by reading the Bible. And when we accept His Son's death and resurrection, we'll be forever near to Him. And so that big sentence that I wrote just means, if you love the Lord and you accept Jesus in your heart, that gift that God gave us, you're going to get to spend forever with God. And so we'll always be near to Him. So when you accept Jesus in your heart, He's in your heart. He's near in that way. He provides loving people around you. He provides that church family. Mentally, He's there. Emotionally, He's there fully all the time. 24/7, God is there. And so that's another thing He promised. And a verse that I found that was encouraging to me was, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed to us. And that's Romans 8:18. And to me, that we're going through hard things right now. There's sickness, there's disease, and there's hardships, and there's death, and there's divorce, and there's so many hard things that we go through. There's comparisons, there's friendship breakups, there's relationships that don't work out. There's a lot of hard things that we go through. There's comparison. There's all these things that we as teenagers go through, but also adults as well, that are hard things. But these sufferings that we're going through right now cannot compare to the glory and the goodness that will be in heaven if we choose to spend eternity with Jesus by accepting Him in our hearts. And so that is just, like, so encouraging to me, that it's not even comparable. And so I'm not going to promise that life is going to be easy. And God sure didn't promise that either. But it really is encouraging. And remind yourself over and over again that when hard things are happening, remind yourself that God is so good and that he's near. Even when it doesn't feel like he is. He's right there. And so let him into your life. Let him help you. So some things that I have learned from personal experience and saw also when I looked some things up was how to trust God when life gets hard. Because how can we continue to follow him when things get hard? How can we not give up on this journey with him? Because it will be worth it. One thing is to root yourself in the word. God has not made that difficult for us to know him. God has given us this book right here. God has given this Bible that if you listen to the episode of my mom, she was banging that Bible around. She was showing it up. And so God has not made it hard for us to get to know him. He gave us this whole Bible. I mean, mine has a bunch of pages. I mean, let's see. 1,292. That's a lot of pages. And so he gave us a lot of words to get to know him better. And so root yourself in the word. Get in the word. Even when it doesn't make sense, God's word never comes back void. And so be in the word. Learn from God. Number 2 is be in prayer. As we spend time in the word, our knowledge of God will grow, as well as our trust and our love for him. And something that I talked in my Bible study tonight about was that when you love him, you're going to be more likely to obey and trust him. And so if I love somebody, I trust them because I know they want what's best for me, and I'm going to obey that. And so spend time in the word and your knowledge will grow, and you're going to be more likely to trust, love, and obey God, and be in prayer. Talk to him about anything and everything, good and the bad. I've heard this a bunch of times, and maybe you have too, maybe you haven't, but what if you had only had what you thanked God for? And often that takes me by surprise, because it's like, oh, I would have little. But there's a lot of people who don't have beds, and there's a lot of people who don't have parents, and there's a lot of people who don't have food on the table. And so be thankful for the life God gave you, even though it's hard. That doesn't make it easy all of a sudden, but really thank God and be there in the present for the good and the bad. So pray, talk to God. He wants to hear you. And third, rejoice in God's promises. Rejoice that he says he will never leave us. Rejoice that says we will not fight alone. We will never be alone. Rejoice in these things that God has given us and promised us. And you can learn about these promises in the Bible. And so rejoice in those and find the good in that. And one more verse is Isaiah 41:10. It says, "Fear not, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And so even though he didn't say life would be easy, it will be hard actually. But he will uphold us with his righteous right hand. He will strengthen you, and he will give you what you need. Often I feel like I've said often a lot. Often. Sorry. I hear a lot of people saying, like, God will not give you more than you can handle. I personally don't think that's true. Because there's a lot of things I can't handle on my own. Now, there's nothing that God can't handle, though. And so I can't handle a whole bunch of anything. There's actually very few that I can handle on my own, if not anything. And so God might give you more than you personally can handle, but there's nothing God can't handle. So he will be there with it all. He will give you the strength that you need because he is strong. And so God will help you. God is strong enough to face any of these big giants in your life. Even though you're not able to do them on your own, God can. And so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's such a good verse. So that's really all I have today. But I hope that was encouraging and just remember those promises that the Lord has given us. It won't be easy, but God is strong, and God will never lead you, and He will provide for you and love you and comfort you in all the ways that you need. And sometimes you're not going to see what the purpose of some of the pain you've gone through, but there is a purpose in pain. There is these things in the Lord. He is good. And so I have a very special guest next week, and so I'm super excited, so make sure you tune in next Tuesday. But I hope you guys are all having such a good week, and I love you all, and I'm praying for you all, and I'm so thankful that you're listening. So bye.